Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers.
Right? No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
And the millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
Hey there, welcome to One Take. It's Justin Fox, One Take, powered by backers. Justin Fox, Steve Cody. Steve, thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Thanks very much for having me on, Justin.
Awesome. So I'm in Toronto, you're in Ottawa, so we're about 4 hours, give or take, away from each
Depending
other.
on how fast you drive, yeah.
Yeah. Three and a half if you're doing $1.50. Don't tell anyone, right?
Exactly.
And they just built that whole, I guess that's probably about 4 or 5 years, that whole new highway. Might even be longer than that, right?
Yeah.
The 416.
416.
Yeah. There you go.
Makes a big difference.
How long has that been there now?
Oh God.
Or is that a while now?
I'd say like 10 years.
10 years? Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I remember them building it though. We used to go out there every once. We had some friends up there. So anyways, I'll get into a quick little bio. So lifelong entrepreneur, having built and sold 6 traditional companies. You're currently co-founder of the world's largest online rent anything peer-to-peer marketplace, which is called Rockify.
You got it.
Yeah, I've watched some of the videos over the years. I think it's a super cool idea. Why don't you? I mean, tell us, everyone, Rockify. Like, what is Rockify? Let's just jump right into it. Tell us, what is Rockify? Like, I just kind of gave the definition of it, but you explain it in a more of a.
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest way to look at Rockify, think Airbnb,
right?
But think for anything rentals. So if you had a laptop, if you had a wheelchair, if you had a kayak, if you had an RV, pretty much anything you own, a blender, you can start making money with it. You can put it up on Rockify, make it available for rent. Everything is free. Until you get a transaction and you're making money, then we make a bit of money at the same time. So yeah.
So I've seen sort of like tools, right? So people can rent like different types of tools, and obviously that type of stuff you mentioned, as big as RVs. So you're not getting into obviously houses, that's Airbnb, but anything that can.
We are. I mean,
you are? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna buy Airbnb. So. But
I hear they're not doing so well. At least back in March they weren't. That was sort of like the market crashed a little bit for them, right?
They did do a good job bouncing back. And if you look at, the rental industry, which is really what, the sharing economy, the rental industry, the Great Depression is really what started this industry. Okay. And the last recession is what started Airbnb.
Yeah, 2008.
Nobody would have considered renting out their house to a stranger,
right?
Unless they had to. It's normal now, or semi-normal.
Somewhat,
but so it was the last recession. People needed to make money, so that's what they did. So I think, and I mean, Airbnb, they've bounced back since the pandemic started, no question. And I think they're going to have a terrific IPO. But we are rolling out Rockify spaces. But we're going to be more than Airbnb. So. We think there's more to it than just homes. We
storage.
think your garage could be sitting empty.
Right.
Why not rent it out?
Right.
You might have a parking spot sitting empty. You might have a boat slip sitting empty.
Right. A backyard that somebody could park their boat in your backyard, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. You have a party in your backyard. Put a tent up if you have a beautiful backyard.
So event spaces, everything.
Exactly. So we just look at anything that's underutilized or not being used. We think, there's an opportunity for people to make money with that. And we're providing the technology and the platform to help make that happen for people.
So just to confirm, so everyone, it's ruckify.com, right? So sure. I think I've heard at some point, maybe in one of the videos, but tell everyone, like, how did you get Rockify? Like, how did that name or that brand kind of come to be?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, when you start a business, to me, like one of the most exciting things is coming up with the name,
naming it,
come up with the logo. And so I spent, when we came up with the idea, I spent a couple of months kind of thinking about it, and I had come up with a really good name. And I thought I had done a good job coming up with a good logo, and I showed it to my 14-year-old daughter, Katrina. We were in the kitchen, and it was rented, and it was a nice logo. I said, "So what do you think?" And she looked at me. She said, "Dad, that's really stupid." And I'm like, "What do you mean stupid?" She says, "Well, number one, you're going to change the way people view rentals.
Right.
So you can't have the word rent in the name because they've already, then you're kind of planting a preconceived
Associated
notion.
with the existing.
Yeah. So
norm,
yeah. So she said you can't do that, and it's got to be a verb. It's got to be an action. And so anyway, so I go, okay. So she's 14. She's a smart aleck. I still thought, I like my name and logo. I said, you come up with something. So literally half an hour, like she went to the basement. She came back up, and she had RUCK. Ruck, and it's to hook in German. And I'm like, oh, I like the 2 dots over the U. That looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what does it mean? And she said, well, it means to exchange in German.
Okay.
Said, well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're doing here. So this is perfect. So then we kind of, you start looking at the word, and you start thinking, well, if somebody gets mad at you, and all they got to do is change one letter, and you're looking pretty bad, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so kind of a weird discussion to have with your 14-year-old daughter. But anyways, we talked about that, and then we live in Ottawa, and we have this amazing company, Shopify.
Yeah.
So we said, why not add the FI to it? And that's how we came up with Rectify.
Awesome. Just out of curiosity, how long, like, was 2010, 11? Like, when were we talking here? 12?
3 years ago.
It was only 3 years?
Yeah. June 2017.
2017. Okay. I was thinking it was a little longer than that. Okay. Interesting. So I usually do a sort of choose your own adventure. I want to keep talking about Ruckify, but tell us a little bit about your past, like what brought you into this space? Where did it all begin? So 3 years ago, I think you might be older than 3 years old. So give us sort of like your background on good guess, right? Good guess. Probably at least a day, right? A day over 3, right? No, tell like what's sort of the background that brought you into even wanting to get into this space, or kind of what's your background as far as where you've some of your experiences.
Yeah, I mean, lifelong entrepreneur. Very dyslexic as a kid. Lived with a single mom. She was an entrepreneur. She cleaned houses for a living, so I'd go to work with her.
Okay.
So entrepreneurship is kind of what I knew. Had a hard time in school because of being dyslexic.
Okay.
My grandfather was convinced I'd go to university, so he put $10 a month in the bank for me, so that by the time I was old enough, I'd have enough, to pay for part of the university. By the time I hit grade 10, there was $1,200 in the bank.
Okay.
School wasn't good, so I went to my grandfather. I said, can I take the money, and I want to start a window cleaning company, and that'll get me. I buy my ladder, my bucket, my squeegee, everything I need to start window cleaning. And so he agreed to it, and so I left school, started a window cleaning company, and I think that was kind of probably one of my first real lessons in terms of thinking things through, because like it was probably day 2 I figured out I was scared of heights. So
you only do the basement windows, right? You're like, I'll only do your basement windows.
Yeah.
$5. I'll do it all. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? It forced me to hire people.
Right.
Because I wasn't going up there. There's no way.
Right.
So I quickly learned how to kind of hire and manage. And so it ended up being a really good experience. Did that. It turned into the largest window cleaning company in Ottawa. So we had about 40 people on the team. But we started doing commercial buildings, and we started renting these machines that are called swing stages. They're the ones that come down the side of the buildings.
Right.
And I'd have to go to somebody to rent them. And I said, well, why don't I buy them and I'll rent them out? And
so other people. You would buy them and rent them out to other like competitors.
It didn't make sense that I was paying somebody to rent it. I figured I might as well own them, and I'll rent them out.
Right.
And I'll use them. So I got into the swing stage rental business.
Okay.
And we did quite well at that. And then, you're doing swing stages, and then somebody's like, oh, can you do a bit of scaffolding for me? And, and then we ended up in the scaffolding business, in the rental business.
Okay.
So we did that. Then we got a Bobcat dealership. So the little tractors that you drive around.
So you're just kind of like adding these different
Yeah.
sort of like tools that you're renting out over periods of time, right?
Yeah. A lift equipment business. Sold that to Hertz, which was owned by Ford at the time. They were out of New York. Got into the Cody party, so party rental business. We franchised that across the country. So, kind of lifelong, a lot of rentals.
Right.
I've loved rentals. I love the fact that you can buy something, especially if it holds its value, and just continue making money from it. It was one day, probably about a little over 4 years ago, we had a storm came through the neighborhood. Big tree fell down out front of the house, and pretty much before the storm was gone, I could hear the chainsaw outside. So I went to see what was going on. It was my neighbor, which is now my partner, Bruce Linton. He was out cutting up the tree.
Okay.
And kind of, what's happening, Bruce? And he said, Steve, I'm getting there. He loves cutting trees, loves a chainsaw. But he said, my blade's not big enough. So I won't be able to get the stump of the tree. And we started thinking, we have neighbors and, they have nice houses and, probably somebody has a bigger chainsaw, but we have no idea. So that's where the idea kind of came up. We should make an app that would tell us what our neighbors own.
Who has the tool? Like, who's got the sugar you can borrow kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was building our company, at the time, he was starting to build what ended up being the largest marijuana company in the world. So Canopy Growth.
Okay. I thought that was a Tweed. Is Tweed's maybe up there? Or is that part of it?
Yeah, it started as Tweed.
Okay.
It turned into Canopy.
Okay.
I think
Canopy.
Countries, $21 billion valuation in 6 years. So he was doing that. So he was too busy. I was building a company called Better Software, which was a software we had built to run our own companies, but we wanted to sell it to other people.
Right.
So we were too busy, but we kept thinking about the idea of, knowing that our friends had something to rent. And by June 2017, I had the time to be able to kind of get it started. And that's how it all started.
That's how and now everyone can Ruckify, right?
Yeah.
They can Ruckify they can exchange their goods on the app. So let me go. That's obviously an interesting story of I like the fact that you kind of every step of the way, sort of the rental thought process kind of crept in, right? I know I had a business, home healthcare equipment business. We had 2 retail stores and we did rental beds, right?
Yeah.
Like the hospital beds.
I love beds.
And that was huge money. Like I think we'd buy the beds we'd get them new. Sometimes I'd try and get some used ones, but for like $1,000, you could rent them for like $300 for like a week. So
they always need them longer than they think they're going to need them.
Right. So like within like a couple of weeks, they've basically paid for that one bed, and you're renting it year round, right? So one bed would make you a significant amount of money.
Medical's a really good category on Ruckify. We do really well with medical.
So do you work with? I guess this may be another question I'll get into. So do you work with a lot of, like, is there sort of like a B2C component where like you're connecting almost like, I don't want to say other names, but kind of like a Kijiji kind of, where it's like the business advertises their excess. It's not just peer-to-peer in the sense of like C2C. Is there a B2C component on your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. B2B, B2C.
Right. B2B as well.
We've got a lot of businesses, they use it just as another revenue channel, really. Right. It's a free website for them to promote what they have. So we have thousands of companies that they have their own Ruckify store, basically, and they put all their inventory on their store.
Interesting. So you might have like some of the competitors in that space, the sort of home healthcare equipment.
Oh, we do.
Space,
oh yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah.
So would you have like I don't even Shoppers or like a Motion Specialties or any of those types, or usually the smaller
specialties?
Oh yeah.
We have Shoppers on there yet.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, typically a lot of the smaller independents will come on, right? Because, they need the help. That's where I think we do,
local.
We help a lot. The big nationals, they kind of tend to be worried about us because they're like, how's this going to work out for me at the end of the day?
Longer term, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So,
where does it leave their website?
Yeah,
right? Or,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of, anyways.
Interesting. So I just out of curiosity, like how many? I don't want to get into like numbers on dollars, but like how many rental like transactions would you do say in a month? Like what kind of scale have you guys grown to? Do you have sort of that number or?
Yeah, I
just
mean,
out
it's
of curiosity, thousands, yeah.
Thousands. We're not
Okay.
at hundreds of thousands. So, I mean, to put it in a context, we spent, we started this June 2017.
Right.
Our goal was world domination.
Hence buying Airbnb, and who else is in your sites, right?
But to do that, you have to be realistic, and you need a strong foundation, and you need really good technology, and you need good business process. So we decided we were going to take the first 2 years to build out kind of the version 1 of our technology.
Right.
We had 12 go-to-market tests that we wanted to do. How do you build supply? How do you create demand?
Right.
What are the kind of pillars that you want to stand on as a business? How do you fund the business? So anyways, we took the first 2 years, and that was extremely helpful in terms of laying the foundation.
Right.
We got really good at, building supply. So we identified 30 cities, 24 in the US, 6 in Canada.
Okay.
Where we wanted to focus on building supply. So we added over 500,000 items, covering 23 categories, 326 subcategories, which is like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like anyways.
Everything.
So we did that. That ended January of this year. And then we had our first big go-to-market launch in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And a bunch of us, we were about 80 people in the company at the time. And a bunch of us bought one-way tickets to Austin. This was going to be our first big launch city.
Okay.
And
one way is, and you were going to stay down there for a bit of time, not knowing when you were coming back, kind of thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Until it worked. So
that
was, and then we were going to launch. We had 30 cities supplied.
Yeah.
So you could ignite one, and then you could ignite others after you get the one.
Right.
Our launch was April 21st. Things really started
of this year.
Weird. Yeah, but I mean, things got weird, right? So March 12th, I think all the sports teams canceled.
Yeah.
March 13th, we were hightailing it on a plane back to Ottawa.
Okay.
And then March 16th, things really settled in, and things, how we had to really have an honest conversation with ourselves, thinking, how is somebody in the sharing economy where you're exchanging things, how is this going to work during a pandemic?
People are worried about touching things, right?
People are washing their groceries.
Right.
Yeah. But that really, that lasted about 2 days, because then what happened is the market kind of took care of itself. And then we started having gyms calling us and saying, hey, our gyms are closed. Our stuff is sitting here. Can we put it on your platform? And people can bring the gyms to their house. So sort of spurred that supply chain. Yeah. And then, then we had other people like, I've lost my job. I need to make money. I don't have money to invest, put everything I have on Rockify, make it available for rent. And then we had people earning, the lady earned over 10,000 her first 90 days. Wow. You know what I mean? So So you had this huge supply. So I guess the question maybe everyone's probably wondering is, were people afraid to touch other people's stuff? Like obviously not, because you had customers coming in, right, on the sort of the buy side, right? What spurred them on? Like, how did you go from the influx of supply and not just having it kind of dormant? Like what were you able to do? I'd say there was about a 30-day window where, we said, let's focus on building supply. Let's just continue doing that. We felt demand would come just out of necessity. People would need things. People wouldn't be able to necessarily afford to want to buy things. Right. And, we put in some pretty strict protocols and some good communication in terms of how the handoff would work and how we would clean things. And, interesting. Over time, people just got comfortable with that. And I think it's definitely less of a conversation. Right. We started, we had United Way reached out to us, and we had helped them in floods and situations before. And, they were in a crisis saying, can you guys help us? We need digital devices. We have people that, elderly people that are starving because they can't leave their house and they can't even get a hold of people.
Can't get a hold of people, yeah.
We have students that can't go to school that need to continue learning. We have people with mental health issues that need help. We need digital devices. So we started reaching out to our community of users
so
and
you
saying,
can facilitate that.
oh yeah, it was amazing. Like
Right.
we collected. I mean, they were so impressed. They wrote a letter to the Prime Minister in terms of how impactful this was.
Wow.
That we could reach out. People just, the old cell phone,
Yeah.
the old iPad that, probably doesn't do enough anymore. And we'd pick them up. Everything was free. We'd have them wiped clean, and then we'd send them off, and we'd get these awesome videos. And so it lifted our spirits as well. And that's kind of what got us through all that. So
that's amazing. And then obviously you're getting sort of the I think one thing you mentioned there, and I think this is huge for a lot of businesses, especially in sort of the digital age. And we're, for our platform, we're kind of going through this too, is the communication with the users as to like, and setting the expectation so that they're, so they understand what they should be expecting, and sort of like that communication of, hey, it's clean, or it's this, or it's that, right? And then really kind of working through that. And then, because you are breaking down sort of barriers, right? There is going to be that initial sort of pushback, but then once you can communicate that to them and kind of step past that, then obviously, I think your business is the type of business where once somebody uses it once, kind of has a positive experience on either side, right? They're kind of like, hey, this is really cool. What else? They're probably like, as a supply side, they're like, wait, what else do I have to kind of get on that? Like, oh, I've got, wait, Kay, do you need those kids shoe? I don't know what level of stuff, but like, hey, do you need this? Do you need a son for a day? I'll give you my son. No, it's like everything baby and the bathwater, right? Interesting. So what is sort of the, like, I have another question that was kind of just as it was coming. Do you think the huge supply at the early stage, do you think that impacted the pricing, or like how do you manage pricing, like as a call it supplier? I don't know what you call them, but are they called suppliers or owners? As an owner of a product, I'm setting the price. Like, so how do I know? Like, do you give me sort of guidance in?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a table that will help you in terms of pricing.
Right.
I mean, there is a reality. If you want to start renting tools out of your garage,
right,
you don't have a transactional cost like Home Depot does. You can be 30% cheaper. You should be 30% cheaper.
I guess that's your competition, right?
Yeah. And, so that's a reality. I don't like, do you want to be 70% cheaper? Probably not, because at some point it's just not worth your while.
Right.
So the market takes care of itself. But there's no question that in many, many cases, we're cheaper than traditional rentals.
Right.
And also, I would say more convenient, because I don't know about you, but if you've ever gone to Home Depot to pick up a rental, like it's a job in itself. Like, what ID am I going to need? How much of a deposit do I have to leave? Like, anyways, it's
there's one guy at the till and there's 17 people trying to rent the one drill. I remember that we were digging holes for a fence, but anyways, and there was like 6 people wanted the same whatever. Anyways,
rectify it from somebody. They're probably passionate about it.
Yeah.
Or they want to tell you about it.
Right.
And if you needed a couple extra hours, they probably let it slide. Like, it's people dealing with people. It's not. Right. It's just a lot different.
And the transaction is done all sort of obviously on the platform, right? That's sort of done ahead of time, right? So before their meeting and everything. Because I think, do you worry? This is maybe another question. Do you worry that somebody will connect with somebody and kind of go around the platform, or do you have, is that a sort of a thought process, or how do you get past that?
Yeah, I mean, in our business, you call that leakage.
Right, okay.
We would get some leakage.
It happens, I guess.
But I think over time, if you do that too often, you wouldn't be as successful on Rectify, because the more transactions you have, the more you'll come up with. You don't pay for top search result. Your top search result is because you have excellent ratings, you give great service,
right,
and you have a lot of transactions.
Right.
So if you start doing too many things
And
outside the
around.
platform, you
Yeah.
know, your transactions drop.
Right.
It just kind of has a cascading effect for you. So, you know,
Interesting.
I mean, if somebody told me they did it outside the platform, it'd be, you know what, good for you. I mean, it wasn't insured and all those other things, but
Right.
you know, it's not like we're not
So I guess there's some aspects there you've built in, like you mentioned, you built out the foundation, right? You obviously sort of thought of all the processes, so somebody can be assured that they're getting quality products. You know, if they pay for it, turns out to be, you know, misleading or things of that nature, they've got the protection of Ruckify, right, on the sort of the back
like
end.
you know, even when you sign up to the app, we're doing, it's about a 19-point data
Check.
inspection
Okay.
on everybody that signs up. So,
Right.
you know, if you're a bad character, our data will tell us that 6% of the people who try to get on can't get on. So right away, we're eliminating problems, and then we're being proactive in terms of, you know, having people leave reviews. So that helps us a lot. And, you know, I mean, we have a policy. If you have 3 bad reviews, you can't be on the platform. It's never happened.
Yeah.
You know, so it's safety is everything for us, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're trying to build a really strong community.
Right. You don't want people getting hurt or sick or injured.
Yeah. If it's not safe, like then go to Kijiji if you're not worried about anything, or go to Facebook Marketplace. Like there's a lot of horror stories.
Are they on your target of acquisitions? Facebook, Kijiji, Airbnb. Who? One of the other questions before we jump off. One of the other questions I was wondering is, what were the 6 Canadian cities for all the Canadians?
It's Vancouver.
Yeah.
Calgary.
Yeah.
Ottawa.
Yeah.
Toronto.
Okay, we made the list.
Halifax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the 6th?
And
Edmonton. Okay. Yeah. Sorry to all the other 6 cities. You didn't make the cut yet. Yeah. When do you roll out the other? When do you roll out across sort of the rest of the country?
Well, they're primary cities.
Okay.
You know, we're in, I think, 208 cities right now, where we have over 1,000 items posted in the cities. So that's in North America. So we're in a lot of cities, but we call them primary markets. So we have teams that proactively work the market.
Right.
So
okay.
There's, So
interesting.
There's secondary cities and there's primary cities.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to throw this out. We can't obviously do it on this call unless I could go on maybe the app. I was going to say we should jump on and do a round 2, maybe do a quick live. We'll rent something, get it, go pick it up, do it, you know, for our audience, just to show how the whole app works and the whole process.
What about like a chicken plucker or something?
Yeah, whatever we could get something. So like we'll go to a farm. We'll ask the farmer if we can pluck his chicken. Then we'll go find a chicken plucker. We'll do the chicken plucking, and then we'll return it, and we'll get our 5-star rating as a. What do you call the other people? The borrowers, like the owners.
Renter. You're a renter and an owner. Yeah, but you know what? It's actually, it took us a long time to come up with that terminology. We used to call them posters. But posters almost sounds like a peeping Tom, like it's just a weird.
Or the thing on your wall in high school, right? Your poster, right?
Yeah. So we switched it to owner.
Owner, that makes sense.
Yeah, and owners and renters.
I would have thought maybe because you mentioned earlier, we were trying to sort of get away from the renting concept, right? As
Ruckifiers.
Ruckers. I guess they're the Ruckers, the Ruckifiers. Yeah. Yes. Interesting. Well, I really appreciate Steve joining me. It sounds like you guys are, you know, headed for success, right? So April, just to do the math, you said like 1,000 per city, right? That's tremendous, right? Across 200 or so cities.
1,000 items in about 208 cities right now.
That's awesome.
So we're going to continue growing that out.
It's just about building awareness, right? I think for people, you know, especially, you know, sort of, if they've got, you know, everyone's got stuff, right? Everyone's sort of comfortable with, like you said, the Airbnb model. People are comfortable with now like ride sharing, you know, jumping in your car or using their car to drive people around. So I think it's, you know, it's sort of that next step, right? Peer to peer, you know, the shared economy, right? So
yeah, and I think the catalyst is really going to be when do we look at ownership differently? And Elon Musk made a statement a while back where he said, if you buy a Tesla, there's going to be a day where I flick a switch and your Tesla will become part of the Tesla rental fleet. So you'll be able to rent out your Tesla and make money with it. So imagine having a beer with one buddy that's bragging about how much money he's making every month by owning a car. And then you're talking to your other buddy that owns a GM or a Ford and is talking about a monthly payment.
Monthly
yeah,
payment for the car, yeah.
And I mean,
the car that pays for itself kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And when we did our 12 go-to-market tests, we did a boat show. And it was crazy. The amount of husbands were bringing their wives over, and then the salespeople were bringing everybody over saying, look, the boat's going to make you money. It's not even going to cost you any money, right? Just that whole concept of ownership. And then look at the positive impact it has on the environment. Tremendous impact on the environment.
You're not building new things all the time.
You're not digging holes. The ships aren't moving from China to, wherever they're, anyways, it's mass. Just think about an extension ladder. How many people own extension ladders? You never use it.
That sit in the garage and never get used. I had several actually. Yeah. We just sold our house, but had several in the shed.
Retire. You could be retiring then.
Retired on the revenue from the ladder revenue, right? There you go. Climbing the ladder, literally renting a ladder. There you go. Awesome. Well, Steve, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining me. Typically end it with one word, one last question, I guess. It's sort of like one word that you would say to a younger you as kind of like motivation or inspiration or piece of advice. What would that one word be that you would, tell others that is sort of, if you're talking to a younger Steve Cody?
Yeah, well, it's not one word. Maybe just a statement is like, never give up.
Right.
There's always a way. There's always a way.
There's always a way.
It's
where there's a will, there's a way, right? That's the United way, isn't it? Or no? Yeah. I think the United way is without you, there is no way.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that. Sure. Yeah, that's.
But all I know is entrepreneurship is not easy.
No.
But if you don't give up and if you just always look for a way, you will find a way.
Yeah.
And you'll persevere, and that's what makes it fun at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's the journey, right? It's the perseverance through the journey that makes it all worth the while, right? So awesome. Well, Steve, thank you very much. Rockify, rockify.com. How about on like social media? Where can they find you? LinkedIn. Find you. Do you guys have any social media for Rockify?
Oh yeah. Rockify's on Instagram,
Twitter, Facebook, all the
Facebook.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
TikTok, all the different
TikTok.
channels.
Do you get in on some of those TikToks?
No, my wife's showing me some TikToks. It's just, I don't need another distraction.
It's funny, not to go in, but at the very beginning of sort of the pandemic or the lockdown started, we actually went away to Cuba during March break, and we started doing some TikToks down there with the kids and kind of got into it. And then I was just like, I do not want to spend my time doing this. So, but I'm sure your daughter, is she 14 now, or she's a little older, 17? She's into it.
Oh yeah.
So, interesting. Cool.
LinkedIn's good for me.
LinkedIn's, there you go. That's the realm for you. Awesome. Well, I do want to, we should connect. I'd love to do a chicken plucker type of episode. Maybe do an order and we'll figure it out. We'll do it all. We'll do it like a live stream or something. We'll showcase Rockify.
I wonder if chicken plucking is a good idea. Anyways,
that you figure it out. I don't know if that. Yeah, what?
I don't even know how you pluck a chicken, but I know people do well with chicken pluckers. So
really?
Lady wanted to buy a second one because her first one was rented all the time.
Wow. Okay. So maybe if that's the idea, let's test it out. Let's bat some ideas around.
Waterbed pump.
Waterbed pump. Okay. I was thinking one thing that just popped into my head for some reason. We were out on the weekend. Hot dog cart.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the guy just showed up out of the blue on Saturday down Mississauga area.
Yeah.
Just with a hot dog cart. Like I don't think he owned it. I don't know if he did it all the time. He had it attached to his trailer, sort of to his truck. And I think he just kind of pulled into a park and just backed it up and started selling hot dogs.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. So imagine you could if you could rent a hot dog cart for a day and go sell a bunch of hot dogs or give hot dogs away. It's kind of like notice like, hey, we just got this hot dog cart. That'd be kind of fun.
We have a lot of good, we call them Ruckified ventures too, down on the water. So,
okay.
Yeah. So maybe
Ruckify Adventures or
Yeah.
yeah,
adventures.
Adventures. So like you get the kayak and the gear.
Yeah,
or-
we work with partners. Could be paddle boarding under the
Paddle board.
stars. We did
Okay.
paddle like for Halloween, paddle boarding in your costume.
Okay.
There's canoe trips. There's bubble ball. You know, like the soccer games. You know,
Oh yeah,
where you-
yeah, the big balls. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things that our team. We do a lot of them every week, and a lot of them are partnered with Red Bull and things like that.
Okay.
They're just, it's really about, you know, building community and using
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
And then, I mean, if it's just sitting around not being used, right? They're in as well.
Yeah.
So that's all. So let's talk about something like that. We'll do a backers Ruckify event or something. There you go. Powered by backers. Ruckify powered by backers. Awesome. Well, everyone else, this is One Take powered by backers. Steve, Cody, Justin Fox. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Peace. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Justin.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Hey there. Welcome to One Take powered by backers.
No judging. No
Yeah.
judging.
And the millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.